up, everyone? I hope everyone's doing great. My name is Bamboo. You're watching Bamboo Gaming, and this is a Marvel Snap video on how to get better at Marvel Snap when it comes to strategies and mind games, deck building, and how to think about the game. I think each season it's getting difficult to get to a ranking that you even reached the last season. Last season I reached 70. Now I'm stuck in the 50s, and I'm asking a lot of questions like, why is that happening? What's going on with the meta that people are adapting so fast? They're getting better, and what's separating those better players to players that play autopilot? And we see that Shuri, yes, she's objectively one of the best cards in the game, alongside Galactus and Thanos. But we also see decks that are reaching infinite without those cards. Maybe they're running some Series 4, maybe no Series 5, but yeah, they're still getting to the infinite. And how are they thinking about the game that they can reach that ultimate status of the infinite rank, right? We all know that one of the most valuable resources in the game, other than the credits and the gold, are the cubes. That helps you gain that ultimate status of infinite ranking. And I just want this video to help players get better, to get close to where they were at, or even just reaching a different level that they haven't, and just getting out of the rut of the new season and the meta changing. So I want to bring up first is what are making players better, and with the decks and cards that they have. I think with the collection level that anyone's at, people can definitely get better. There are decks that are easy to climb with, but there's also many other decks that have, let's just say, a win rate higher than 55%. There's many decks like that. But there's certain decks I feel like are, how do you say, there's many decks that can help you be creative on how to strategize with your own personal deck that you love. Yeah, I see a lot of people making meta deck videos, anti-meta deck videos, snapping strategies, but I don't see people talking about the strategies of their deck, how they manage their cards. Some decks, yeah, you like last season you played Zabu turn 3, you blow up. It's kind of autopilot when it comes to that, you know? So the first part of this video I want to talk about is deck building. Deck building is very important in the game. You want your cards to synergize together to actually win the game and collect some cubes. Certain decks, especially in Pool 1 and Pool 2, that are, to me, really simple to pick up are Kazoo decks and Devil Dino decks. Those decks allow you to understand and actually have fun with the game. There is some strategy to it. With Kazoo decks, you play 1-drops, buff them up with your other cards like Kazar, Blue Marvel, or Patriot, and then hopefully those buffs allow you to win locations. And then you also have other cards that make those buffs powerful, like Onslaught, or just swarm the field with Ultron. Another simple strategy in Pool 2, if you're entering to it, you're going to get a card called Devil Dino, which to me is one of the best Pool 2 cards that you'll get and still play throughout your whole experience with Marvel Snap. I'm 10 cards away from completing my series Pool 3 collection, and I'm still seeing myself play Devil Dino and Patriot and Kazar and Blue Marvel. But there's going to get to a point where you are going to you will start playing these cards very differently from the time that you got them in Pool 1 or Pool 2. That is one of the basic deck building strategies. The advanced part of deck building is what are the cards that you're losing to, right? And this is going to be the meta and the anti-meta, that if you play a lot of Marvel Snap, you get to see these cards appear more often. And the two cards that are kind of right now, that are a lot of YouTubers and Marvel Snap content creators are talking about is Shang-Chi and Arrow. So what Shang-Chi does is cards that have in destroys cards that have 9 or plus more power in that one lane. So if you have 1 to 4, 9, say if you have 4 Hulks in a location, you can Shang-Chi destroy all 4 Hulks. So the advanced part of the strategy is how to avoid cards like those cards in the game. So the second part of deck building is the advanced part. And the advanced part to me is including kill cards in your deck. And there's 4 that come to mind, which is Killmonger, Shang-Chi, Enchantress, and Arrow. And each have their own purpose. Killmonger being able to kill a lot of the 1 mana costs in the opponent's deck. Shang-Chi killing the big body cards. Enchantress canceling out ongoing. And Arrow being able to move all the cards on the last turn, or even on turn 5 if you see they're going to do a big play to a certain location that don't benefit them. The other half of the strategy is knowing that these are the kill cards most people are going to be running. What cards are you going to see that will allow you to know what kill cards they have in their deck? One indicator, let's say Killmonger, if they drop a Nova on a lane, most likely they're running a Destroy deck, and most likely they're going to run a Killmonger in their deck. So that's one. And another one is Shang-Chi and Enchantress. Most of the time, if they run Zabu, they are most likely going to run 1 or 2 of those cards because it makes 4 drop into 3 drops. But Arrows also, I want to say, it's going to be really difficult to know who's running an Arrow deck. Most likely they have Arrow in their deck if they can fit it, and that one's going to be a little hard to see. Like I said, if they're winning by 2 locations and there's a lot of space in the board for them to move and there's no Cosmo, most likely they're gonna run Arrow. So that's also something to look out for. So now that you completed your deck and it has synergy, it has some strategy, it has some kill cards, now you kind of have to play in the game and understand what locations benefit you and what locations don't benefit you. So let's just say if you run an on-reveal deck, say an Odin deck, and there's no locations that help you have your deck reach its craziest potential, and you understand that the other opponent, let's just say, runs an ongoing deck, and there's Onslaught Citadel, and there's locations that don't allow you to play certain cards, and the locations dictate where you can play your cards. Those are probably the key things to be conscious about, to know when to stay and when to leave. And it'll make it easier if your opponent snaps on certain moments, to rather than give them 2 cubes to see what kind of play they're going to do. But if you already know, just kind of leave. And there's no shame in like leaving. And it'll definitely help you practice understanding what decks you lose to and what locations you lose to, and what decks you win and what locations you win on. So now that we're done with deck building, now here comes the interesting part of creating your game plan, which is including your snap moment. And that's probably the one aspect to a great video by Educated Collins, which talks about the snap theory in Marvel Snap, which he talks about the safe and unsafe moments in the game. So he talks about the safest snaps being turn 3 and turn 6, and the unsafest snaps are turn 1 and turn 2, where you have the least information. When I mean by snap moment, a good example is not Shuri, a Daredevil and Professor X deck. If you play Daredevil and on turn 5, usually no one snaps yet, and you see turn 5's play by the opponent, and if you snap, they're usually going to leave, but if they can beat what you're playing, they'll usually just call and not raise. And on turn 6, if they see where you lock the lane and if it ruins their plan, they're usually going to leave and give you 2 cubes, or they'll, like I said, they'll leave on turn 5 when you snap, knowing that they can't beat a Professor X if you have it. So a snap moment, let's say a good one that everyone probably is playing. Let's just say if they're running Shuri in their deck and they play Wong and then they snap, right? And they're first to act, so they know that their Shuri play is going to go through and they're going to set up for a big play on turn 5 and turn 6. So that's another good example of a snap moment. But every deck, I think, has a moment like that where they can put a big number or lock a lane, or say if they use debris and they lock your lane down, or Viper. Um, let's say another example is, say if there's Bar Sinister and they have Green Goblin on turn 3, they could just clog your lane with Green Goblin and they win and they retreat. So that's another aspect to the game where you now have to add that extra layer into your game plan or into your deck and understand that, like, oh, I can maximize the cubes I can win in this game by even just 1, so you actually are net positive at climbing the ladder or just ranking up faster. Another thing to keep in mind to take advantage of to win more cubes, I think is a good strategy, is paying attention to hot locations and feature locations. Like I said before, if once you play with your deck and you understand what locations don't benefit you, will put you in a bad disadvantage against the opponent, and you will lose cubes. So another good strategy on top of that is keep your deck unique. Yes, it's cool to play the meta and anti-meta for the season to win as much Qs as you can, but also practice being unique with decks. There's a deck, I'll probably put it here, that runs 4 cards that I didn't think that would ever work together, which was like Iron Fist and Vulture, and say Colleen Wing and Swarm in the same deck. What's cool about this deck, which I think is probably the high part of intelligent deck building, is having cards that aren't going to be big numbers early on and that could hide from certain cards, like, yeah, like I said, Killmonger, Shang-Chi, Enchantress, or let's say Magneto is a probably good one. Um, certain card combos like Carnage and Bucky Barnes, or yeah, Carnage and Bucky Barnes is probably a good combo. Another one, like I said, is Iron Fist and Vulture. You could still make a 10, but it hides from those certain cards. Maybe Iron Fist is going to get hit by Killmonger, but you still have an 8 powered card still sitting in a lane wherever you want. Another one is Colleen Wing and Swarm. If you have those 2 cards together, you can get 2 free 3 powered cards, plus you get a 2/4, which I think is pretty strong. And yeah, try to keep your deck unique like this. I think everyone has that ability to do that anyway. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you make a deck. Can my deck avoid certain kill cards that I won't be surprised at the end or turn 5 or turn 6? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's also a pretty good strategy to have in the back of your arsenal. Can I avoid kill cards? Is my deck unique? Is my deck going to benefit the locations that are going to show up for the next day or 2? So the last part I want to talk about is having a healthy mindset at this game. It's very important that you try not to be tilted or frustrated that your deck isn't reaching infinite, or the collection that you have isn't good enough against other players. Because yeah, if you do have all the cards in the game, you can be very creative. You already know the strategies, what people are playing, so other players are going to know what you're going to do next. And it's easy for people that have the cards to surprise you at the end, to play cards like Null or, Galactus or Wong to Shuri, those dominant combos in the game. And just know that your playing in your own pace and stay in your own lane when it comes to playing this game. Like, yeah, the infinite status is pretty cool to have, but it's not healthy to say like, oh, I'm going to get this infinite like status, but you're like, you're destroying your whole your whole life just trying to get this one status. Like, you're not being disciplined in real life. You're not eating well. You're not working out. You're not sleeping well, because I've definitely played this game till 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning, and I lose sleep for it. And even the next day, like, I'm still losing because I'm being unhealthy with how I approach the game. You want to really be level headed. You want to be composed. Like, you just want to definitely just want to tell yourself, I just want to get better at this game. And a lot of the strategies that I did mention in this video will hopefully were helpful, and also that you'll understand, especially when you play the game a little longer with the decks and cards that you have. So guys, if you like this video and you want me to elaborate more on a certain aspect of this video, if you want me to do breakdowns on certain combos or strategies or mind games, yeah, like and subscribe, and definitely thank you for watching the whole thing. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.